What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new review as we're set to go ahead and get into Naomi, episode number 4, as this series continues to certainly press on, and a series that I'm continuing to enjoy more and more each episode. I honestly think this is probably my favorite of the series so far, as Naomi gets at least a little bit more clarity and maybe some more revelations in regards to her origins here. The idea that this episode really delves with the idea of Naomi kind of handling the new truth that she certainly has in regards to her life, hearing it from her parents straight from their mouths in regards to their discovery of her, seeing how Naomi is kind of struggling to not only deal with the truth but also dealing with the idea that her parents have kind of kept this from her. I think really did go a long way for her character, and kind of seeing the idea of how, you know, being afraid to admit the truth sometimes can certainly hold you back, if you will. And I think a lot of that really was showcased in here in regards to how much that truly has affected Naomi's life, whether that be with her parents, whether that be with her relationship with Nathan, and really trying to figure out what she certainly wants for herself, with really her life kind of changing before her very eyes. So I think this episode did a really great job establishing Dee a little bit further, sort of as her mentor. The situation with her parents has been rather interesting also, and really just kind of seeing how Naomi is evolving, certainly as a character in here, when it comes to not only learning more about her past, but now getting to see more sort of alien involvement, if you will, right? The stakes rising a little bit higher now that we actually have aliens that seemingly are hunting for her. You know, this really puts Naomi not only in danger, but in a completely different position in her life than she certainly ever expected. And I gotta say, you know, Kaci Walfall, who plays Naomi in here, continues to really impress me. I think CW and Warner Brothers did a fantastic job in casting this girl. It does make me kind of curious what else Kaci Walfall might have auditioned for in the past. I'm curious if she ever tried to audition for Stargirl, or, you know, at least a role for like Dr. Midnight. I'm kind of curious if she ever even went out for Riri Williams for the upcoming Ironheart series with Marvel, just because that's the sort of quality of actor that I think Kaci Walfall is certainly more than capable of. She's clearly believable. I love her range of emotions in here, and when she's experienced some things, as me as a viewer, I can easily feel that coming across in her performance. So I've been really impressed with Kaci Walfall, honestly, as Naomi in here, and just really the level of storytelling that they're kind of diving into. You know, one of the things that I really do appreciate too, and it really has a lot to do with the supporting characters in this show, I really love how they're kind of portrayed. It is one of those things where sometimes, you know, people of color or diversity can sort of be portrayed in a particular sort of way, whether they live like in the slums or in the rough neighborhood sort of thing. I do like the idea and the mentality of showcasing just how educated these kids are, right? The terminology that they're using, how much stuff that they're learning from school and like implementing sort of in their everyday lives and in the situations that they certainly find them in. Like, there is an element of like that Scooby-Doo gang that I really appreciate, but with a lot more smarts on their side, in the sense of using coding, right? Using the technology that's been provided for them, whether that be in their own school, in the escape room that we see here in this week, but just the knowledge that they certainly have. I love the idea of just how a lot of these characters are definitely showcased and highlighted to show a much brighter and different side to these characters. You know, for me, when I watch this show, if I could be honest, you know, Naomi feels very much like a great placeholder for another show that unfortunately recently got canceled, probably way too soon, in that of Black Lightning. You know, I really love the way that they portrayed their characters in Black Lightning, and it seems as though they're continuing to do that here when it comes to Naomi. Just very strong representation, and just showing that they're, you know, they're more than just certainly their skin color. They definitely brains and brawn brawn and just fantastic qualities in a lot of these particular characters. But it does make me kind of wish that while we have a great show like Naomi that's doing a great job in representation and what they're trying to showcase, it does make me wish that maybe we both had Naomi and Black Lightning still on the CW to just enjoy the idea of seeing how much diversity and inclusion really has grown, right? Like, I don't want to say that WB has like a quota. We could only have one black superhero television show on at a time, sort of thing. I mean, look over at Batwoman as well. But man, there's a part of me that kind of wishes we had Naomi and Black Lightning certainly still on the air. But kudos to the Naomi show, the showrunners, Ava DuVernay for producing, and even the writers in regards to just how Naomi's really have come across. I've really enjoyed the first 4 episodes that we've definitely have gotten. And so for me, a couple things that we definitely have to talk about, right? This is the episode highlights even Naomi's origins certainly a little bit more. I love that this episode kicks off with learning about her parents, how they wind up meeting, them getting married, how they came across Naomi and things like that, and really kind of seeing from their perspective like what was going through their mind when Naomi was certainly born, right? Like there are elements to the Kent family coming across Clark, in the field with the spaceship crashing sort of thing and finding this alien child. But there definitely are certain ways of like how Naomi's family approached it differently than the Kents. And so I kind of like that other perspective, right? The idea like, look, nobody else was around. There was no UFO sort of wreckage. It was literally just you. We didn't have the answers either. The idea of why didn't you tell me sooner kind of came up. Like I appreciate Naomi's reaction to things and even the answers that her parents sort of wind up giving her, being as open and honest with her as possible, yet some would probably say maybe a little bit too late, right? Like even Dee kind of takes a stab at her parents in here, like, well, you only had 16 years to kind of tell her the truth, right? When her dad's like, well, you took it upon yourself to tell our child that she was an alien before we ever could. What certainly held you back? But as parents, listen, granted, I'm just now becoming a parent myself with our newborn child at home. I don't know what it's like to have to carry around a secret or not tell your kid something of that magnitude. But, like her father said, when things were being very normal, right? Like there's no signs that you have to worry about anything until you have to worry about anything, right? So the fact that things were normal, that they were a family, that's really how they certainly wanted to raise her. But now clearly everything else is kind of falling into place, and you're kind of looking back at yourself, thinking to themselves, man, we probably should have told her a lot sooner, right? But you don't know those things when somebody's a newborn and you just found them. And so I get that idea of that being a difficult decision to have to make. And by the time you figure that out, you look up and she's 16 years old, right? So I really do love the perspective of both parties here, Naomi and her parents. But you can clearly tell that Naomi is not okay, right? Like the fact that she says, guys, trust me, like I'm okay. Everything's all right. For some reason, the song that comes into my head when I think of this is My Chemical Romance, I'm Not Okay, right? The idea that we can put on a front sometimes, tell people that we're okay, and trust me, that we're perfectly fine. But the underlining fact is, there's a lot of stuff going through our heads, and we're certainly not okay. It doesn't matter. And it feels very much like that's the case when it comes to Naomi. And I think when her mom even mentions, you can come to us and tell us everything. You can be open and honest with us, right? Like there is a hypocrisy in there. And I think that's something that Naomi recognizes. Well, you guys have always established that I can come to you and be honest, but at the end of the day, you guys were not honest with me, right? So how far does that go? Can I trust you that you're not keeping anything else from me, right? Like I'm sure all of that is definitely going through sort of Naomi's mind in here. And so I really love the difficulty that she finds herself in and the struggles. And it'll be fun to kind of see how Naomi overcomes this, what other future discussions she's going to have with her parents, and if she's really going to tell her parents how she truly feels about them kind of keeping this a secret for certainly 16 years. Like even her supporting characters, her friends, feel some type of way about her parents certainly not telling her also. So I do expect another confrontation at some particular point in time. But even as her parents, the idea of, not even being included in some of the things that are happening in her life, right? The fact that she's going out for class president, they didn't know anything about it. You can clearly see Naomi while she says, I've had so much on my plate, things happen kind of fast. When you look at their relationship in the past, where she clearly told them everything, clearly there are some things that she doesn't feel comfortable maybe sharing with her family any longer, considering the fact that they've held this secret when it comes to her. But her dad, I get the idea of her dad, it being a little tense at dinner with Dee, the little bit of a pushback, right? Like, you've taken care of this girl for 16 years. You truly love her. You truly care for her. You want to make sure that she's certainly safe. So while they try and balance out the situation with Naomi, I do like the storyline of him working with the military and doing his best to try and protect his daughter on the side also. I am kind of under the impression, though, that the military is very much suspicious of him. I don't know if they brought McDuffie in I don't know if they brought McDuffie in to work with them that closely because they already have their eyes on him, or if it's one of those things where they're starting to suspect that McDuffie knows more than he's certainly letting on, right? Like the idea of them even sitting down with him and saying, we saw that you kind of went off course when you were looking for these signals, what was going on there? The fact that they're questioning him, that he leaves the room at the end and they're still kind of staring him down, it just gives the sense that the military knows a little bit more than what they're doing. But they pick up on all these signals that are happening, whether it be the signals from the aliens that are arriving, or the bounty hunter aliens that are trying to look for Naomi, or if it's the fact that Naomi's powers, and whether when she gets emotional or kind of putting out these signals, the idea of her activating the disc, another signal, especially with the blackout. These are all sort of signs that are kind of putting gigantic targets on her that we clearly see happening in this episode. The alien that talks to Zimbadu in here with his threats, if you will, confronting Naomi towards the end, even getting the opportunity to see Naomi meeting up with another alien in the blonde, blue-haired woman that we get to see her connecting with, that we saw Zimbadu referencing and talking with a couple episodes ago also. Her telling Naomi, you can't do that, right? Like, you got to keep your powers in check. You're just putting out signals and attracting attention. And it's not just from regular people. It's definitely from the aliens. So the stakes have definitely risen here. And I think Naomi is officially realizing that it's not just the case of, oh my God, my life has changed because I'm an alien, but now seeing the pieces come together and realizing that you're part of something much bigger than you even possibly expect, and now you've got people hunting you, definitely will put you in a completely sort of different mindset. And that's one of the things that I loved about this episode too, was the opening of the lore and the history towards Naomi, building her origin story up here slowly, realizing that she's from Earth-29, the fact that it was a beautiful, lavish Earth sort of thing, that this blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman really blamed Zimbadu for destroying, or it being on him for ruining their planet, if you will. The idea of Dee, again, I continue to love Dee as a mentor in here, but allowing him to even express to Naomi the idea of the multiverse and how there are plenty of other planets in this galaxy that humanity is not even aware of. I don't feel like we get to have that conversation very often when it comes to DC television shows. So the fact that the showrunners are taking time to elaborate that, while you're certainly on this Earth, make no mistake, this universe is vastly huge. And I even love him introducing the concept of a hierarchy, that sometimes there are very strong planets and there are very weak planets. For me, it kind of takes me back to a Marvel connection in the sense of, especially when it comes to like Infinity War and Endgame. I think they talked about the idea of like Earth now being like on a completely different level playing field because of the fact that they've got superheroes and, yeah, I don't want to say metahumans, right? But they definitely have proven themselves, certainly over time, to have gone from one position in the universe up to something else that has kind of opened the eyes of other people in the galaxy that have some sort of way about how they feel about Earth. You know what I mean? So the idea here that you've got Earth in the Naomi universe here, but also other planets, Thanagar, Thanagar, Krypton. I mean, you guys name all the any other planets that you guys know from DC Comics, but I love the fact that it establishes them in here in the sense that there are things going on in the galaxy, in the world, that we have no idea of, and the fact that Naomi is here and has powers kind of tells us that she comes from one of those strong planets, or at least a hierarchy where people have powers, that somebody clearly was either trying to protect her, get her out of Dodge before her planet suffered. Who certainly knows, right? Like, they're very much under the impression that somebody sent Naomi here. And for me, I think that's where my big question mark comes from, especially when it comes from Zimbardo. One of the things that we talked about very early on is, what is Zimbardo's role in here? Is he supposed to just come across as just straight up sort of villain, or does he have his own sort of his own particular reasoning for doing the things that he's doing? In a weird sort of way, I think the fact that he gives Naomi the disc, mind you, who continues to show more confidence, that the more and more that she certainly learns about herself, the fact that Zimbardo was so willingly to give over the disc, understanding that this is her property, you know, it almost still feels very much like he is, in a weird way, trying to protect her. But like I mentioned very early on, maybe going about it in a very villainous, untrustworthy sort of way. Who knows? For all I know, maybe they wind up kidnapping her from like the king and queen of that planet, you know what I'm saying? And held her for ransom. And maybe they got stranded here on Earth. And now this hierarchy is trying to send people out to kind of find her and bring her back home. Is it like, is Zimbardo part of this hierarchy? And, you know, maybe this planet was getting overrun and he took her off the planet to kind of protect her in a weird way. I have no idea, but I definitely do feel as though this show has at least laid the groundwork for a much bigger universe out there, a much bigger story than ourselves as a viewer and even Naomi is aware of. And I'm going to be really fascinated to kind of see how the truth comes out, and we start really seeing how everybody is playing a significant role in regards to either the protection of Naomi or the kidnapping, whatever the case may be. This episode for me really established a much bigger picture, and I really had a fantastic time with it. A couple of quick honorable mentions in here. The escape room I thought was pretty fun. I have done an escape room in my life, failed miserably with me and my friends. It became a point to where we became so frustrated that I think we might have been skipping over clues and just trying to figure out, like, where's the secret room at? How do we get in there? Like, I'm pretty sure my friend Chris wind up damaging some property in the meantime, trying to like literally open up something that was locked that we probably needed a key for, and homeboy literally just like popped the lock off in order for us to certainly get inside. So, you know, we kind of left the escape room a little ashamed, a little defeated, and really hoping that we didn't have to pay any extra damages in regards to that. So yeah, we for some reason we picked like the hardest escape room that they had, and it definitely stumped us. We definitely got into some rooms we didn't even discover the clues to get into them as of yet. So we were kind of all over the place, but it was pretty fun to kind of see Naomi and her gang in here using the escape room in order to kind of decipher the coding that was on the disc. When it comes to the action in this, we get the opportunity to see the alien attacking, searching for Naomi. The device is found at her landing location that, if anything, I'm assuming was probably trying to scan the area to see exactly where Naomi was. And unfortunately, the alien that meets up with Zimbardo locates Naomi over at the school. Some pretty terrifying stuff here, especially for a high school girl, to have some weird ass person hunting her down like that. But when it comes to the action sequence and having Dee come in to kind of save her, if I could be honest, I really wasn't a big fan of how the action sequence was shot. Some neat shots, don't get me wrong, especially like Dee's, you know, his wings coming in to kind of protect him and block. Cool glimpses and all, but overall the technique, I guess, in regards to how they film it, especially with somebody that got superpowers, it just wasn't my favorite. Like, the editing felt a little bit off. It felt weird to me. Some of the movements didn't feel very natural. Like, I can tell that it was much more of a fight choreography, something that was planned out, than just an actual sequence itself. You know what I mean? It didn't feel fluid at all to me. It felt like here's step 1, step 2, step 3, and then we're going to rely on special effects and some really weird edited shots to kind of make the fight come together. So I am a little bit concerned when it comes to this particular series. We really have not seen big overall bombastic battles, you know, superpowers certainly used, glimpses, you know, but when it comes to full-on battles, we haven't really seen how that really takes shape until this particular action sequence. And honestly, I do feel some type of way about it. I'm really not the biggest fan, so I will keep myself open-minded to kind of see how the series progresses. Like, are they holding on to production value until the very end for a much bigger sequence sort of thing? But in regards to at least how it was shot, not really a big fan of the edits, and it just felt a little bit off to me personally. But this episode does end on a good note in regards to Naomi and the Nathan character, their love connection continuing to certainly build with one another. And I gotta say, you know, I don't really know too much about the actor that plays Nathan, but I really do love his chemistry with Naomi. You know, she clearly is being truthful and honest with herself in here, something that she certainly has had to learn throughout this entirety of the episode, and truly embracing what she certainly wants, even if it is something that's embarrassing or she doesn't know how to necessarily express herself. But I really love the idea here that Naomi has, I guess, found love. Clearly, her and Nathan have been together before, and they wind up sort of breaking up, but it seems as though now Naomi certainly wants to fully embrace that. How Anthony is going to handle it, how Lourdes is going to handle it, who certainly knows, because it definitely seems as though Naomi does have several love interests in here that are certainly eyeing her. So I will be curious to see how the rest of her friends feel about maybe her and Nathan getting together once again. But, you know, I continue to love the tone of this series. I truly do. It definitely feels like it's a little bit above some of the other CW shows that we've had in the past. I think for me, I continue to love the level of storytelling that we wind up getting in here. It feels very much similar to Black Lightning in the sense that it has a story that it wants to tell, and it focuses very much on it. It doesn't feel like here's a villain of the week, we need to wrap up this story type of thing and then move over. There definitely seems to be overarching storylines and things like that that are very much connected, that the series is focused on the story it wants to tell. Probably not going to be filler episodes in here whatsoever, and for that I can definitely appreciate this episode and season so far that we've gotten. But overall, great stuff, man. I continue to really enjoy this season, and I'm expecting the momentum just to continue to build. I don't know exactly how many episodes we have, but I do know that we definitely have ourselves a little bit of a hiatus, because I don't believe, let me pull up my calendar here, because I don't believe Naomi returns until like 3 weeks. I think it said like February 22nd. Yeah, so next week, no new episode. The 15th, no new episode. So it looks like a 2-week hiatus. And then it will, in fact, be back on the 22nd. So we definitely have some room to breathe here. So we won't have a review for you guys next week, but we definitely will be returning on the 22nd or 23rd to go ahead and drop a brand new review for you when it comes to Naomi. But listen, at the end of the day, guys, these are just simply my A+ opinions. I definitely want to go ahead and know yours. What did you guys think of this episode of Naomi? Are you enjoying this series so far? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. You know, there may be some character moments, storyline developments that I didn't quite tackle in here that you feel are important, that you want to go ahead and continue to have a discussion about. Definitely let your thoughts be known in the comment section, guys. And if you continue to love our content, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It definitely does go a long way. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for us here this week. We'll certainly see you next time. But until then, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.